Welcome to the Justin Root Show. Listen to this. My guest today has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, 3 Emmy Awards, although I believe he's been nominated 18 times. He invented the Las Vegas Lounge Act. He bought Sammy Davis Jr. a house. He was friends with LA's most notorious gangster, Mickey Cohen, was even better friends with Frank Sinatra. He has been inside Mae West's legendary penthouse at the Ravenswood. He gave us Lily Tomlin. He gave us Goldie Hawn. He produced the very first Grammy Awards, a few presidential inaugurations, and may be responsible for electing Richard Nixon to office.
Sock it to me.
Please welcome the legendary George Schlatter.
Wow. Thank you. That's quite an introduction.
It is such an honor to have you here. I should have also added, you have worked with every single person who's ever performed in the history of performing.
A lot of them, yeah.
And I'm so sorry that at the later stages of your career, you have ended up on this show.
No, I think this may be my shining moment.
Well, I can tell you what, it's definitely mine.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. I should also add, in addition to being a producer, you are an author. You have a brand new book out called Still Laughing. It came out last year.
Yeah.
And I've read it twice, as I told you when you came up here. And to me, it wasn't enough. I need about 500 more chapters and about 500 more stories.
Well, there was much more originally. Martha Bowes, my assistant, followed me around, and I just told stories. I then sent it to John Max, who's probably the most well-known comedy writer. And I said, okay, John, take this and take everything out that I don't want printed. So the book wound up about half its original length, but there's nothing in it that'll get me arrested.
I think the statute of limitations are gone, right? We hope. Well, I think it's pretty fitting that you were born on New Year's Eve, this loud, exciting sort of party, and I kind of feel like that's what your career exemplifies, no?
Thank you.
Loud, fun.
Body and on the edge of being respectable.
Now, Alabama, that's where you were born, right?
Yes.
But raised in St. Louis, and then you came out here and went to Pepperdine, but not the fancy, beautiful Malibu Pepperdine that we all know. Wasn't it like in downtown LA then?
Yes, yes, downtown LA.
So what got you into show business? I know you started as most people call it a bouncer at the legendary Ciro's nightclub.
We straightened that out. We said that I had been an executive in charge of emergency departures. So when I married Julie, and she hated the sound bouncer, so we put that as an executive in charge of emergency. It was a bouncer.
It was a bouncer. Did you bounce a lot?
Well, yeah, but that was at Ciro's and then at the Frontier in Las Vegas. And so it's a long and very colorful, bumpy career, but it's been fun.
Yeah. What keeps you going? What kept you wanting to do it? I know, a lot of people might get a hit show and then say, you know what? I got some money, I'm done. But you just kept going. You keep going. You haven't stopped yet.
I had a good time. I knew a lot of very colorful people, some of them respectable, but I had a good time. I enjoyed it. And I'm having a good time now, except for the stairs to get up here.
I hopefully by the time this is over, we'll forget about that. We did it, though. You got it.
I may have to. Well, I've climbed some pretty hard stairs, but this almost stops it.
Well,
yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Something tells me, though, you've had to help a lot of guests overcome a lot of obstacles in your career.
Yes.
I don't know. What do you think was harder, getting you up these steps, or you getting Judy Garland to set on time?
It's a draw. Well, Judy was an adventure. The secret to Judy, I found out, if you could make her laugh, you could do anything. The secret was to make her laugh, and she loved to laugh, and so we got along very well. I had a lot of fun with Judy Garland.
You produced her first show, her first television show, right over at...
What happened was I wanted to do I read there's going to be a Judy Garland show. I've been doing the Dinah Shore Chevy show, and I read that Judy Garland was going to do a show. So I kind of chased her down Sunset Boulevard, right? And so I finally arranged a meeting with Judy Garland, and it was intimidating because I didn't know what to say. What do you say to Judy Garland? So for some reason I said, I don't care what you may have heard about me. there's no truth to the rumor that I'm difficult. And she said, "You're difficult?" I said, "See, even you've heard it." So she said, "Let's go have a drink." That was my first meeting with Judy. Because if you could make her laugh, you could do anything, and I could make her laugh. She was an adventure, though. She was an electric personality that was like a trained pony, you know, like the intensity, the energy was awesome. But when she hit that stage, magic.
You know, you say producing was a lot of fun, and the work that you've done looks a lot of fun. But I know it's a lot of work, too. It's a lot of hard work. What do you think the ratio is between fun and work?
Well, work is the way to get to the fun, and fun is the way to tolerate the work. It is a lot, but if you know what you're doing, and if you care, that's the secret, really. And humor, you could make it. My relationship with Sinatra was based upon the fact I could make him laugh. Judy Garland, the same thing. Dinah Shore, Mae West, all of those people. They all humor is the lubricant, and if you can make them laugh, you can do anything.
I love that. I'm going to copyright that if you haven't already.
No, I probably stole it, so who knows?
What do you think the one quality a person has to have to become a successful producer, or just be a successful producer?
An abundance of patience and an overload of guts and patience and humor. Laughter releases all the tensions. That was the secret with Judy and all those people. I can make her laugh.
What makes you laugh?
What makes me laugh? Looking at my credits.
Yeah?
Thinking, how is it possible that old guy is still working, right?
Right.
Fun. I have a good time. I look forward to it, and I have fun, and I make sure that the people around me have fun, and that's the secret, I think. And it shows when you look at the show. You look at most of the shows I've done, and you say, "Hey, they were having a good time." That's the secret.
Now, according to your book, you are 94. Is that correct?
Yeah.
All right.
I never thought I would go this far, right?
Well, I believe you because you said it in your credits track, but sitting across from you, it's mind-blowing and shocking. And you know, Mel Brooks and Norman Lear was 99. Is there a component of producing that you think just keeps you going? I mean,
well, both Mel Brooks and Norman Lear, they survived because of humor. When everything else fails, you know, that's the ultimate pain. The ultimate level of pain, you laugh. When it hurts so bad you can't do anything else, you sit there and say, "I don't believe this," and you laugh. Laughter is the trap door. Laughter is the lubricant. Laughter is the trap door into life.
Is it also the secret to your long marriage? You have been married for...
I've been married for 65 years.
To the beautiful Jolene.
Yes. She said she wouldn't marry me because I'd be dead before I was 30, because at that point in my career, I was working in Vegas, and I knew a lot of colorful people. And so I said, "I'll lose them." She said, "You'll never lose those people." Jolene had worked in Vegas when she was 17 years old. And they found out she was 17. She was Miss Los Angeles. So they found out she was 17, so they had to guard her carefully because nobody could be around anybody under 21 years old. So that's when Jolene and I started dating, when she was 17. And it's been quite a run. So then, anyhow, she finally agreed to marry me, and we're married now 65 years.
Does she make you laugh? Do you make her laugh, or is it pretty balanced?
You're talking about my sex life, aren't you?
Do you still have one after 67? I don't care how old you are. That long with the same person, how do you have a sex life?
Well, I've lied to her. I told her we're married 30 years. She doesn't know. But she's gorgeous and smart, and much of the reason for my success and my salvation has been Jolene and two lovely daughters. One of them is doing a musical comedy for Broadway now with Dolly Parton, and she's won like Emmys, and she's a brilliant young producer. They're not that young anymore. And my other one is AJ, who's a Olympic equestrian, competitor and now teacher.
So basically everything you produce is successful.
So far, no. Oh no. I had some real turkeys, you know. I had the record for having the shortest run series on television. I was, Laughing was hot. And so they wanted to do something, and I said, I want to do a show that breaks all the barriers, that uses the new sound effects and the new editing techniques and all the opticals and whatever. So I sold a show called Turn On that was an extension of a reality as we knew reality in television production at that point. And so we did this pilot, and they looked at it, and they bought 13 shows. And when they saw the pilot, they upped the order to 18 shows. And it was mind-blowing. It was extended reality beyond everything in television at that point, sound and looks and editing. And we had an opening night party in New York and in Los Angeles. And a guy in Cleveland wanted Peyton Place to stay on the air. He was upset that he was going to lose Peyton Place and put Turn On in place of that. Turn On itself gives an indication of the level of consciousness that we were in. And so anyhow, he got on the phone and started calling affiliates all the way across the country. And he told me, you can't have this show on the air. You have to cancel it. None of them had seen it, but they were canceling it. So from New York to California, by the time the show got from New York to California, it had been canceled 20 minutes. And so I said, this is great. We'll publicize that it was canceled. They said, no, we mean it. It's off the air. So part of the arrangement I had for my settlement was that I would never air the show. And now somehow some young students somewhere found the tapes and have now released it, so you can now see Turn On, which today still looks a little progressive. It's pretty progressive. And I'm still proud of it. But now finally people can see Turn On. And most of them wonder, well, what was the problem? Some of them understand what the problem was.
Speaking of progressive, you have always been so progressive. You produced I think you produced the very first all-black TV special, correct?
Yeah, called Soul.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which was basically the bluept for In Living Color.
It was. Well, we aired this as a special. Redd Foxx was his first network appearance. And so it was very successful. I wanted to do it as a series, but I couldn't sell it as a series, so I called Damon Wayans. And the Soul pilot kind of influenced In Living Color. But it was wonderful. I mean, the only white guy on the show was a drummer. I thought it was apropos to have a white drummer in an all-black show. But it was funny. Soul rattled everybody's cage because it was all black, and it had black not only performers and music, but also subject matter. And we did an interview with Slappy White as the first black African-American vice president. And Redd Foxx interviewed Slappy White. Are you ready for that? This was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And Redd Foxx said, Mr. Vice President, I noticed all the people in your cabinet are black. Why is that? He says, because ain't no white people owe me money, right? So, I mean, it was an adventure, and it was funny, and it went on the air. And it was controversial when it went on the air, but it was funny, and even white people have it. So we did that. And on the strength of that, I then did the first all-female variety show. And I wanted a female director, and there weren't any, so I got Lee Grant. I said, I want you to be the director. She said, I don't want to do that. I said, well, okay, you just do it until I find somebody that can. So she was directing, and every day she did another thing and another thing, until eventually they were so hooked on Lee Grant, she became a hell of a director. But that was an all-female variety show, comedy show. It was more than variety, it was comedy. And that was also a problem getting cleared. See, anything really worthwhile doing is going to be difficult to get done, because everybody somehow or another, everybody hangs on to the traditions, right? Mm-hmm. Do it again, do it again, do it again. And most of my success has been from doing things that I did not do again. I did them the first time. Soul, Turn On, Laughing.
Yeah, well, speaking of Redd Foxx, in 1976, you produced Norman, Is That You?
That, again, was an accident. It opened on New York and got great reviews, but it only lasted a week because it was about a male gay couple. And at that point, it was a much more subject more sensitive subject matter.
You're talking about the play, right?
Yeah, well, in New York, it opened as a play in New York.
Okay.
And so I bought the rights to it. Right again, I somehow was looking for every problem I could find. Well, that was a big one because it was the first gay couple, and it was a Broadway show, and it was funny as hell. So I bought the rights to it, and I couldn't sell it. And a lovely woman was Sherry Lansing. Sherry Lansing started out as one of the dancers on Laughing.
On top of the piano.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I took it to Sherry Lansing, who bought it, and went on to become a major executive.
Head of Paramount Pictures.
Yes. And so she bought it, and because it was even a reach for her, but felt she owed me a favor because I'd given her first job.
Wow.
And so we did it. I think I shot it on videotape, which was another first. And I shot it, I think it was about a week, which is impossible. I saw the multiple cameras on videotape then. But in order to get it done, in order to get it sold, I had to do it that fast, and I had to do it, funny. And so we did it on videotape with Redd Foxx, Pearl Bailey. And I didn't know that Pearl Bailey had been married to Slappy White. And Redd was always trying to have an affair with Pearl Bailey.
Oh, boy.
But I didn't know that when I booked him. So the time they were doing the movie, he was always hitting on Pearl Bailey.
Easy.
Come here, big mama, and kiss me in the mouth, right? Pearl said, she said, Redd, she said, we got to get along. She said, because it's a black movie, and black people got the earth to get along. And so they had a very fractured, sensitive relationship. But the movie was great. The movie ran all over the world, except Redd wouldn't promote it.
Yeah.
Unless he got $25,000 a day. Redd Foxx was a very difficult guy. I'd done his first television shows. Redd Foxx talked about ghosts. He said, I see a ghost, I'm going to cut him. But anyhow, Redd Foxx was there, and so he thought he would get more money. It was Redd Foxx. I mean, Redd Foxx in a major motion picture release. But anyhow, finally he agreed, but he would not do any promotion. He wanted $25,000 a day to promote it. So it opened, and it opened big time, in like Cleveland and Los Angeles. But Redd wouldn't do any interviews unless he got $25,000 a day. So the movie did very well all around the world, except that Redd wouldn't promote it. So now to sell a movie, again, now imagine if you will sell a movie starring Redd Foxx and Pearl Bailey, all black show about a gay couple. I mean, even today, that would be a reach.
You are a very rare entity in the fact that you are a white, heterosexual man who has lived through so many decades, and yet you are so progressive and you are so liberal. What do you chalk that up to?
Span. Because I can lose my attention very quick, and I get bored very fast, and I hope I'm not reaching that point now with you.
Not at all.
It's to do anything again is not nearly as exciting as to do it for the first time. And that was the all-woman show. That was a difficult sale, because all the executives were men. But that worked very well, and won an Emmy for Brenda Vaccaro. So most of my remarkable and celebrated successes have been on the edge, have been breaking through barriers, soul, temptation, all of that.
To me, it seems common sense to, accept black people, accept gay people, but for so many people, it's not. It's such a obstacle to overcome.
But those are the barriers. Those are the people that have not yet been exposed, and brought to attention. Did that with blacks, did that with gays, and both of them were very successful. So most of my alarming, surprising successes have been with those shows that were impossible to sell and almost impossible to do. But boy, isn't that the most fun you can have?
I don't know if it's more fun than putting Lucille Ball on an elephant, which you did.
That was, when I did the Dinah Shore show, the last show CBS bought was the Steve Lawrence show.
Okay.
And Steve was not that well known and whatever, so they were going to do this show with Steve, and I couldn't book the show because all the stars were bigger than Steve. So I had done the Dinah Shore show. I did this, booked her son, who was like about 10 years old. I booked her son in a young people's little rock and roll group, and that was successful. So I couldn't book this Steve Lawrence show, so I called Lucy and I reminded her of that. I said, I want you to do the Steve Lawrence show. She said, why would I go to New York, from Los Angeles to New York to do the Steve Lawrence? Why would I do that? So I said, okay, but what am I going to do with this elephant? And she said, what do you mean? What elephant? I said, well, I've got an elephant booked to ride with you and Steve Lawrence coming down Schubert Alley on Saturday night singing together, and then you doing a tap dance. She said, you are one crazy. She's a pink elephant on Schubert Alley? I said, yeah. All right, you son of a... When do you need me? So anyhow, she showed up to do the show, and it was great. You can imagine a pink elephant riding Schubert Alley Saturday night at 11 o'clock. And I got arrested because the deal was it was supposed to be done at 3 o'clock in the morning, but we had this huge crowd there, and I said, well, let's go now. But yeah, I got arrested. And Lucy wouldn't let me go to jail without the elephant, which was kind of funny. But Lucy and I wound up friends forever. But I got to show you clips of that show. It was great.
Oh, you have worked with, people we all think are just absolutely legendary. Is there one person you can maybe say was your all-time favorite to work for? Work with?
Or with. With
That's
is the key word.
Okay.
For, if they didn't believe you had to make them believe that it was a partnership. I think Judy was probably the most adventuresome and perhaps the most surprising success, because nobody thought they didn't think she'd ever do any shows. She did this one show. We took her to New York, booked Schubert Alley, and we booked the Carnegie Hall. She came out on stage, and it was mobbed, and everybody wanted to see Judy. She'd never done this kind of thing. And she came out, and on the way out on stage, her heel got caught in a tiny little hole in the stage, and she was locked there, so she had to take her shoes off. So she did her first concert barefoot, singing, sitting on the stage, and it was a huge hit. So that was my career with Judy Garland.
Wow. Now,
I got fired from that show too,
but not arrested.
Not arrested. Well, I was arrested, but I wouldn't go to. Lucy wouldn't let me go to jail.
We all need a friend like Lucy.
That's it. She became my buddy forever. There's a place in Jamestown. Did you ever hear about the comedy?
Yeah, where Lucy's from.
That's right. Well,
and you're doing something with a theater there, am I correct?
What happened was the woman, Journey Gunderson, when they were building this museum in Jamestown, called me and said, they're building this museum. Do I have any tapes to send her that she could put in the museum? And I said, do I have... So I sent her a tape. She said, this is great. Do you have anything else? And I said, lady, I have a warehouse full of else. What do you mean? And so I started sending her tapes. And I sent her tapes of being... Because you can imagine in this long and shady career, the collection of tapes that I had. And I sent them all to her. And she said, this is great. And so when I realized that they were going to house and present my entire collection, I sent them a rather large donation. A large enough donation that they put the George and Jolene Comedy Museum is on the front of the theater in Jamestown.
Congratulations, that's where it should be.
Yeah, and I sent them, if you send enough money, you can put your name on anything. Well, I sent them $1 million, and so the theater's named after Jolene and me.
Who do you miss the most? Who would you like one more go-round with? If you could just do one more show with someone, bring them back, who would it be?
Probably Sinatra.
Sinatra
was magic, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and he was not easy either, but you could make him laugh.
You weren't just a friend of his. You gave the eulogy at his funeral. I mean,
I worked with Frank from my very first beginning when I was starting out down to when...
at MCA, right? When you were an agent.
What happened, he had come to sign his papers at MCA. And when he walked in the front door, all of the agents, there was the police over on Santa Monica, or that building, all of the agents followed him down the hallway to Larry Barnett's office, and he was going to sign his contract. And I had been there, so I'm standing in the office when he arrived. I'm the only guy that was not wearing a black suit. I wore a gray gabardine suit. And he looked at me, and I looked like a Comic Valentine. And he walked down, and he was there to sign his papers. The deal was that MCA, he signed papers with MCA. They represented him. But by representing him, they could sell anything they had. So he never did pay commission. And but he saw me in a gray suit, and he said, I have ties older than this guy. And I said, hey, good. And he said, are these contracts all right? Ask me. I'd been there for 3 days. And I said, yeah. He said, okay. He signed the contracts and handed them to me. And everybody at MCA was amazed. They thought I was a made guy. They thought I was there. I had some connections. I didn't. It was just that I happened to be there. But we wound up friends up until Barbara called me and asked me to do a eulogy at his funeral. And I said, Barbara, I don't want to do that. I said, that's too tough for me. She said, you have to do it. Frank wanted you to. So they have this funeral service on Santa Monica Boulevard. And, okay, so I said, all right, so long as I don't have to follow Gregory Peck. Sure enough, Gregory Peck and then me, but he wasn't going to introduce me. The bishop introduced me. Well, I didn't know what to say. What do you say to a bishop? So I said, thank you, Your Honor. I talked to a lot more judges than bishops. So when I said, thank you, Your Honor, the place absolutely collapsed, everybody. So it became a very funny event after I thanked the bishop, calling him Your Honor. Again, part of the adventure was humor. Humor's been my trapdoor.
Yeah.
And I got by with a lot of stuff.
You worked with Bette Davis, one of the absolute best. And would you mind telling the story about what she said the difference between a legend and an actress is?
Well, yeah, I would. I had this meeting with Bette Davis. She didn't do variety shows. And I had this meeting with Bette Davis, and she showed up a half an hour early. I said, well, this is crazy. So anyhow, all during this meeting, she kept showing up a half an hour early. I said, let me ask you that. What is it? Why are you always early? Because everybody was thrown off because she got there early. She said on her first picture, she found out if you got there early, you found out whose close-ups they were lighting. So as a result, she arrived early at every meeting. We had a good time too. Most people who are awed, most people who we are afraid of, live their life feared. And so, as a result, their key to getting along with them was humor. So with her, I got along, and I had some laughs with her, laughs with Frank, and then we had Frank, Dean, and Sammy. That was an adventure. And my career in Vegas was an adventure.
So many adventures, and
it's been a bumpy road, but it's been fun.
It's been speaking of fun, I've seen every single episode of Laugh-In probably 10 times each. I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and it was on reruns all the time. So while I didn't get the original run of it, it's still part of my childhood and my upbringing, and it is one of the most exciting, interesting shows ever put on air. And what I love about it is it looks so disorganized and chaotic.
It was.
Was it really?
Yes. What happened was NBC had nothing to put on opposite Lucy and Gunsmoke. And I walked in, I said, well, I'll give you a show. It's not going to cost you that much, but it's going to be an adventure. So NBC, who had nothing to put on, said, okay, go ahead. So I routed up this group of unknown young character people. They weren't singers, dancers, or whatever. They were Goldie and Lily and all these people were young character people. And we put them on, and we taped this show, and we ran it for NBC. And NBC said, well, what is this? It's not a television show. You introduce something, and then they said, don't go away. We'll be right back. And then you go to black and come right back. I said, well, that's what we told them. I said, she said, but you didn't. So anyway, that was a problem. But it was one thing after another. They looked at this show and they laughed, but they said, we can't air this. It's just too strange. I said, right. And so they did air it, and it got a lot of interesting attention. Nobody knew anybody on the show. But so everything in it was a surprise. And when you look at television today, you see everything is black. The suits are black, the colors are black, the sets are black. Well, it was like that then, except Laugh-In came on, and everything was bright colors. Jay Krause, who wound up a very famous set designer, was my instructor at Pepperdine, and I finally got him to do the sets at NBC. He brought in a piece of material, canvas. It was all these bright colors and boxes on it. I said, I love it. Can you make the boxes open? What do you mean? I said, could they be trap doors? He said, I guess so. So anyhow, that piece of material became what was the joke wall. And those doors would open and people would appear behind those doors. And it made it possible to book anybody because we would show up with a section of that joke wall at their house. And it looked as if they'd been at the studio. They weren't. They were all, most of them were at home.
Wow.
Tricks, and surviving. If survival is your goal and your reason to get there, you can do anything. And so that was Laugh-In. They were going to air it. They said, this doesn't make any sense. Yes, it does. I called it. They said, well, this doesn't make sense. I said, yeah, big on the continent, they call it Comedy Verte. I made it up in the meeting. And Erwin Sievers, I said, Erwin, did you ever hear of Comedy Verte? No, the other executive wanted to appear that he knew what was going on. I said, yeah, it's big on the continent. So anyhow, they put on Laugh-In thinking it was called Comedy Verte. And it was all those young character people. What I'm looking for today, what I'm hoping to see today, is something that is an adventure, something that would break all the rules. Because we so are accustomed and have adjusted and accepted everything done by the rules. But when you walk in and break the rules, then you get people's attention. You have more fun, the audience have more fun, and we turn an entertainment into an adventure. And that's not only the result of our efforts, but our goal when we begin.
Was there something nice about being able to create television without directly hearing from the audience? Nowadays, when a show is on, the audience has access to giving their opinions on the internet and this whole thing about cancel culture. And now enough people make enough noise, people end up losing jobs and things get canceled. But back, when you were doing shows like Laugh-In, there was no connection to the audience. Your only notes came from executives.
Yeah. And then their notes were based upon their fear of what I was doing. And that sounds egotistical. It wasn't. It was desperate because, most of my career lived on the edge. Because, not only did I get canceled a lot, but I was threatened to be canceled in my most successful ventures. And that's what's exciting. And so all of those shows that you're talking about were at risk. They were all shows that the network didn't know whether they weren't even going to air Laugh-In. And Turn On, they didn't air. But
yeah.
Laugh-In surprised everybody because in order to sell the show, the original concept for Laugh-In was no host. It was just happened. But in order to sell it, we sold it to a guy by the name of Jim Ellers at Timex. He said he would buy it, but it was too weird. He said we had to have some hosts. So that's when I brought in Rowan and Martin, and they were a very funny nightclub act. But so I had them open and close the show, and that gave them the security of having somebody come out and say good evening. And originally Laugh-In was not to be hosted by anybody, but Rowan and Martin worked for it, and we worked very well. But Laugh-In had a feeling. I'm glad you saw it, and I'm glad you liked it. But it was an adventure. It was not just not just entertained. You were partaking in a television adventure. The thing is, I've had a good time, and not only was a good time the result of what I did, but it was the reason for doing it.
Yeah.
And I had fun.
That's
I'm still
great.
having fun.
That's great.
Except for your stairway getting up here.
I'm never going to hear the end of those stairs.
No, I hope I don't hear the end of them.
Well, let's get this show making some money so that I can get a studio that doesn't have any stairs. You're a producer. How do I get stars on my show? If I wanted Goldie Hawn and Lily Tomlin in this chair, how do I get them?
First, you ask them. Have you ever asked them?
Good question.
Have you ever asked them?
No.
Try it.
Okay.
I just yesterday saw tape I did of a special I did, Goldie Hawn's first television special.
Oh,
And her guest star was George Burns. And you ought to run it. I ought to run it for you.
I would love to
Because
see
they
it.
did a routine. And George Burns looked at Goldie like he couldn't believe it, because she was Gracie reincarnated. And so they wound up doing a soft shoe and then a tap dance. And I'll run the show for you because it was a delightful show. It was Goldie's first special.
I absolutely.
Delightful. But Goldie was an accident. Carolyn Raskin, who wound up editing a lot of the laugh-in shows and developed many of the techniques we now have, told me, she said, come downstairs, there's a girl dancing on the Andy Griffith Show. You got to see her. I said, I'm not using any dancers. She said, well, this girl is more than a dancer. So there was Goldie Hawn dancing on the Andy Griffith Show. So we set up a meeting. Goldie came upstairs, and I said, I'd like to do this show. She said, I'm a dancer. I don't do comedy. I said, well, we'll just do some introductions. So we gave Goldie an introduction of Dan Rowan, and she screwed it up so bad. She said, oh, I'm sorry, I'll do it again. I said, no, Goldie, that'll be just fine. And from then on, Goldie never got to rehearse anything. And Goldie and Lily was an accident. Take an accident not as an end, but as a step towards an end. And most of my successes had a large ingredient of accident.
And the special that Goldie did with Liza Minnelli that you produced in 1980.
A little research, haven't you?
Yeah, the pictures of them too have been on the internet for years and years and years from that special.
That was an adventure. Liza was nervous in my relationship with Goldie, and I would lean more towards Goldie than to her. So the two of them came out and then performed together, and they were both nervous about that. And that special is great.
You worked with Judy and Liza. Are they more similar or more different in their work technique?
No. Well, yeah. So I booked Liza on the Judy Garland Show. It was her first guest shot. And she came in, and it was that was Judy put her on her lap, and they sang together.
Oh, wow.
When they sang together, mother and daughter, respect, whatever, they became very competitive. So that first Judy Garland Show with Liza Minelli as the guest star, got to look at it because it was a mother and daughter performing together with love and respect, but also fierce competition. And so I wound up doing a lot of stuff with Liza.
And Cher as well. I mean, you and Cher go way back.
Way back to her. We booked Cher on Laugh-In. When they read, it was just Cher, not Sonny, just Cher. And so when they ran through the show, there were no songs on Laugh-In. It was all comedy. So we got through with this reading, and I realized Sonny was disturbed, and he was looking, where is Cher's song? And he didn't understand there wasn't going to be any Cher song. So I called Billy Barnes. I said, Billy, where is Cher's song? Now, Billy had just gone through a month of hearing we weren't going to do any straight musical numbers. And he said, Cher's song. And I said, the Mountie number. I had never said Mountie number. So he said, I said, oh, yeah. I said, the Mountie, come on, I'll play it. So we go in my office. I said, Billy, write me a Mountie number. He said, what is it? I said, Cher's an Indian, and we're going to have her do a Mountie number. She said, that's not a song, that's a joke. I said, I don't do songs, I do jokes. So Cher sang the Mountie number, and that became, my relationship with Cher started with that. And it was a bumpy relationship with Cher because I wanted her to do more than she was, able or willing to do. So everything was a challenge because she'd had Sonny telling her what to do for so long. And here was this gorilla telling her what to do. She was reluctant to have another man replace Sonny as far as what she was being told to do. So everything I did with Cher was an adventure, and it was very successful. She won the Emmys and everything for it. She was not easy, but she was fun.
Yeah. And I keep bringing up all these gay icons, Cher and Lucy and Judy, and there's a man I want to ask you about, though, because you, sir, are one of the only people I've ever met in my entire life who has actually seen in person the legendary dick of Milton Berle.
Well, you did a lot of research, didn't you?
Not enough.
Well, it was. I will tell you, it was impressive, and they were going to have a contest, and it was all staged. They were going to have this contest, and Milton said, "Don't worry about it. I'll just take out enough to beat you." And here it was, and I mean, it looked more like a garden hose than but it was impressive.
That might be one of the biggest legends in Hollywood history.
And one of the biggest legends, I mean, if that had eyes, they could have sent it to school. But Milton, I had a lot of fun with Milton too, because I would challenge Milton, and I had studied Milton Berle jokes, and Milton was a joke machine, and Milton and I wound up very good friends. But it all stemmed from that competition, and I'll just take out enough to beat you. Is that an answer? So I mean, but you did a lot of research. And Milton Berle was one of my adventures. It's all been fun. I've had a good time, and a lot of it was laughs, and a lot of it was breaking rules and doing things that hadn't been done before.
And what do you do for fun now? What does fun look like to you?
I climb up 15 stairs to get to a goddamn bungalow on the top floor of a mountain, and I do interviews with you, which is, I'm having a good time, but I don't know how I'm going to get back down these stairs.
There were only 5, and I will help you get down.
No. The drive up here is a quarter of a mile.
The hill is not the best hill.
And I like it up here. It's just I don't want to leave because I'm not looking forward to going down those stairs in sane fashion. Now, what are you doing? What's next with you?
Well, I'm trying to do this show. I'm trying to book people, and
You're not having trouble booking anybody, are you?
I kind of am. Because I'm a stranger, I'm an unknown name. It kind of, it's kind of hard to get people to
all of that
to
works
come up
for you.
Yeah.
Sure, the more difficult it is to get somebody, that's the most fun when you do get them.
Well, I will tell you, I echo what you're saying. I have so much fun doing this. I hate editing, but sitting here talking to you, this is my favorite thing to do in the entire world. I love to have conversations with people whose work I admire and respect, and I have so much fun doing this. I'm having an absolute blast.
You have the most valuable ingredient because you're curious. And the other thing you do is you listen. And now, if you couple that with the fact that you probably remember, now I'm in trouble because I don't know whether any of the stuff I'm telling you belongs in this or not, but I'm looking forward to seeing. Where does this run? On television? Or?
Well, this will be on YouTube, on the internet. It's on podcasts, Spotify, iTunes.
See, the internet gives us the ability to participate in everything, to look everything up, to learn from everything that's been done before. And so I'm surprised that television, motion picture, particularly television, is not better than it is because there's so much information there. There's so much to be learned just from watching television, just looking at those Carson shows and looking at the Robin Williams. That was another one of my adventures,
You gave him one of his first
Yes, I did.
jobs.
He was...
Before Mork and Mindy.
Yeah, long before. Robin was at the Holy City Zoo in San Francisco, and it was a little, improvisational nightclub. And I saw Robin. Robin was barefoot, wearing a straw hat and coveralls, and he was out on the streets of San Francisco, and he was putting a microphone out over the audience and announced he was fishing for assholes. And I couldn't believe this young man was so brilliant and talking about, here he was in coveralls, but intellectually exciting. And so I said, if you take a shower, put on some clean clothes, I've got a show for you. So I booked him to do the new show. And Robin was so bright and he was a graduate of Juilliard. And not a graduate of Juilliard, the dean of Juilliard told him after his junior year not to come back for his senior year because he said, there's nothing more we can teach you. And so Robin only did 3 years at Juilliard because at the end of the third year, professor said, there's nothing more we can teach you. It's kind of a compliment, isn't it?
It's like became
But Robin was an adventure.
That's the compliment.
Oh, but he was funny, boy. His meeting with Sinatra was awesome because Robin went, "Oh, he touched me." Robin said, "He touched me like he knew me." And Frank looked at Robin and said, "I have ties older than this guy."
Yeah.
But Frank Sinatra loved Robin Williams. Everybody did.
You have produced so many variety shows, and they don't exist anymore. I was lucky enough to go to Carol Burnett's 90th birthday celebration on NBC, and that was probably certainly the last variety show that I can think of in several years. Why do you think they went away? Will we ever see them again?
Well, nobody wants to rehearse. Everybody wants to sing their new record, right? And nobody wants to rehearse. Those shows we did then took like reading and then 5 days of rehearsal to mount the shows that you looked at as variety shows, because there were sketches and things to learn and music to learn and medleys and duets. And now they want to come in, sing their hit record, and go home. But I mean, I did shows with Tony Bennett and with,
Muhammad Ali and Sammy Davis Jr. I mean,
Muhammad Ali. I booked Muhammad Ali to do the inauguration. George Bush came over and thanked Muhammad Ali for doing his inauguration as a favor to George Bush. And he said, "I'm not doing it for George Bush, I'm doing it for George Schlatter." Well, that echoed around a little bit and developed into a relationship I had with George Bush. Muhammad Ali was just a puppy. I loved him.
Aww.
But when I bought Sammy Davis that house, I think I was making $200 a week. Jeez. But they would not sell a house up there to a black man. And so I bought it in my name. And it was right up behind Ciro's.
Which is now the Comedy Store.
Yeah. So I bought that thing in my name and then put it in Sammy's name. And the problem was I was managing Ciro's, and Sammy, once he owned the house up behind Ciro's, would invite all the people at Ciro's, all the girls in Vegas at Ciro's, to come up to his house at intermission. And I said, "Sammy, you just emptied my saloon." And I said, "Now I've got nobody left here because they all came to your house, goddammit. And you wouldn't have the house if I had it." And he said, "Okay." But anyhow, I kept inviting all of the stars up there.
Amazing.
Sammy's house was the place to go. See, you read the book, so it's an interesting interview we're having because you know more about me than I remember. And almost all of what you read was true. And what's not true is just because I won't admit to it.
Nice.
Well, we barely scratched the surface. I could talk to you for... You are someone that I would love to get stuck next to on an airplane, where you were just trapped and I could just force you to talk, because you are...
It's a 5-hour flight. You have a little vodka that could happen.
I love it. Well,
because there's just... it goes on and on and on. I mean, because let's face it, I'm 95 fucking years old. So in 95 years, I've made a lot of mistakes, and some of them are funny.
But you've done a lot of things right, and the entire world is grateful for you.
Even my mistakes turned out to be right, you know? I mean, so there's a lot of luck in there.
Yeah. Well, we have come to the end of our show already.
Oh, good for you. We got here.
We did, and I like to end my show with something very easy. It's called Either Or. You don't even have to think about this. You just tell me what you prefer.
I'm better that way.
All right. Sunset Strip or the Vegas Strip?
Boy. Sunset Strip because it was more personal.
Okay.
Vegas because it was bigger stars.
Hot dogs or hamburgers?
Oh, hot dogs.
Mrs. Doubtfire or Tootsie?
Probably Mrs. Doubtfire because it was more outrageous.
Lakers or the Dodgers?
Oh, the Lakers. We went to all the Lakers. My business manager at that point was Sonny Golden, who was very, very colorful, but he managed Frank Sinatra and all those people. And he bought tickets to the Lakers, and we had tickets in the center, those 2 seats in the center of the floor, and we went to all of the Laker games.
Ice cream or cookies?
Ice cream.
You were friends with both these ladies, Hedda Hopper or Luella Parsons?
Luella, only because I had more access, but Hedda Hopper I knew, and both Luella and Hedda Hopper came to our wedding. And my mother went over to tell Luella Parsons how happy she was to meet her. and spilled a drink all over the wall.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So that was colorful.
Early bird or night owl?
Oh, night owl.
Swimming pool or hot tub?
Hot tub.
Halloween or Christmas?
I liked Christmas more because it was more interactive. We did a lot of weird things in Halloween, but Christmas was great because it was more family and it was more outrageous.
Actress Cher or singer Cher?
Well, that's tough. That's tough.
All right.
But if you could add to that personality, then you got to vote. Because Cher was a star. Cher would have been a star elevator operator. She was a star. She was an accident. She was not the most talented, did not have the best voice, was not the best actress, but she was a star and is a star. And I cherish my times with Cher, although some of those adventures were bumpy.
Cocktails or wine?
Oh, vodka.
Petula Clark or Dusty Springfield?
Petula.
Musso and Franks or Dan Tana's?
Dan Tana's.
Jeopardy or Wheel of Fortune?
I think Wheel of Fortune.
Okay. European vacations or South American vacations?
European.
Potato chips or pretzels?
Potato chips.
Playboy Mansion or the Greystone Mansion?
Oh, Playboy Mansion. I had more fun in the Playboy Mansion. I mean, the Greystone Mansion was a little austere.
Okay.
But the Playboy Mansion was an adventure.
This is
Because, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I shouldn't stop a Playboy. That's the gay guy in me stopping a Playboy Mansion story.
Had collected all of those ladies in the Playboy Mansion, and they were quite colorful ladies.
I bet.
Yeah, and so that was part of my early life.
Disco or country music?
I like country music because my roots are more there.
All right. Godfather 1 or Godfather 2?
Godfather 1 because it was a surprise.
All right. And last but not least, Fleetwood Mac or the Eagles?
I could not care less.
All right. That's amazing. Well, this was absolutely fantastic. And I am going to end my show with having you sign my guest book. And I got you a small little gift today, but...
Uh-oh. I hope you can read this.
I'm sure I'll be able to.
It says to Justin, my new best friend, thanks for the interview, and thanks for everything but the steps to get up here.
I love it. And I got you a gift.
What?
I don't even know if you know what this is, but I had something made for you. This is one of the most popular, I don't know if toy is the right word, but this is a Funko Pop. You are now a Funko Pop. They're going to be...
This is amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah, you are...
Looks like me.
Well, that is my
And
gift.
what does he do?
He sits there. He could be a paperweight. He can stare at you from your desk. He can do whatever you want him to do.
He will be at my desk looking at me to make sure that I'm not telling you any lies. You know, a lot of what I'm telling you is true. You know that.
Just a lot, not all of it.
Well, you know what? It is. I mean,
Good for
I know
you.
You're not going to use it all, so I can tell you the truth. But see, if we live it right, they say, one lifetime's enough. And if you are honest and truthful, you don't need much of a memory because it all comes back to you whether you want it to or not. So all of what I'm telling you, that I think all of what I'm telling you is true, except that part.
That's the perfect end.